to address. And so make that page your friend. Make that page your friend. In case you don't understand anything here in relation to a particular theory, you may fall on that page to help you. Prof, we may start from the week one.
Okay.
Okay, so today, which is the week one, we'll be defining research framework. I'm sure I'll be mentioning theories, but you are saying research framework. When we begin the class, we'll establish the differences and why research framework. Then we'll look at the types of research frameworks. There's a book that will guide you, okay, as to how, in fact, as to some of these things that we'll be talking about in class. And so we have the research made easy, which you would of course need. In fact, even after PhD, I still use the book. And I've gotten the book for, I think, about 4 or 5 times. Anytime I get the book, somebody will come for it. The last copy that Prof gave me himself, my HOD in my school has taken it. I'm not reporting him, he has taken it.
I didn't know. But I bought some to Winneba now. I think the bookshop. I'll find the contact us and let you know so that I can help who have it. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Right. So please, that is a book that you need to carry along. If I don't know what to say about your thesis, because nowadays we have mixed feelings about the writing of dissertations and all those, but if you are serious about research and this particular class, that's a book you need. And then there is another book that I believe Prof will share on the page, Prof, the theories book. I believe Prof will share on the page. So most of the theories that you find on the IS Theories 8 page, you'll find some of the theories also in that book, most of them, of course. Prof will share the PDF. It's actually a free book, and so you get it. Then that's the book. So information systems, theories for students, researchers, and practitioners. So this is a free book that you can have a copy of. So these are some of the theories that we have in the book. Theory in research, for instance, that's introducing you to the field. And then some common theories, absorptive capacity theory. There is Dillon and MacLean's theory. I believe we'll be treating this theory in this class. Then there's a DOI. And so once you get the book, you can go through this, one of the common theories, the CAM, Technology Acceptance Model, one of the common theories, but I think we've taken it out of the course for now because it has been overly used, but we'll still mention it once in a while. So then and the UT, that's an advanced version of the theory that I spoke about. UT is the unified theory of acceptance and use of technology. So that's, an upgraded version or an advanced version after the theory had gone through iteration for several times. And we ended up at the UT. Okay, and others are still using, advancing that. And so these are some of the theories that you'll be coming across. I know by now some of you are confused. Why are we talking theories? We'll explain all these things before we end the session today. Please, if you are following what you are saying, just give me a thumbs up. Don't stop. Just give me a thumbs up, and then we'll know that you are following. Yes, I can see one. Thank you so much. Prof, please, we will go back to the course outline.
Okay.
Thank you. Then we'll look at some theories that some of us, I don't want to say the students of Prof, but Prof, you are not students, but let me use the word students. The students of Prof have used, and so these are theories that Prof has interacted with together with his students, and so we can have more of a community session or a family meeting around the theories in this class. Okay, for example, MOA framework or MOA theory, I have used it. Someone called Kingsley also used it in the particular way. Then there's another person called Jefferson, who is supposed to be part of our team here, but he's not here. He has also used it in a particular way. And so we'll we'll be having discussions around theories that most of us here, or most of us who have passed through Prof's hands have used, and then you'll see how theory for a phenomenon has been used for another phenomenon. So please pay attention, and then let's have a fruitful semester. Then the third and the fourth week, we look at applying theories in research. So how do you even select a theory? Okay, and so theories used in ISA. So we've listed quite a number of them. The MOA framework, or the MOA theory that I mentioned, is there. Actor network theory is also there, which is also in the book that Prof opened a while ago. Individual difference theory of gender and IT. Zolda here has used this particular theory, and she will tear it apart for us to understand the theory better. So those of you interested in gender issues in IS research, or you are thinking about researching around gender and other issues related to that, you'll find that very useful. Then the technology acceptance model, the one that I mentioned, okay, and theory of reasoned action. All these theories will be discussed in this class. And so these particular weeks, the 2 particular weeks that we are applying theory, we are looking at how you select theory. And then in week 5, we are looking at how you apply the theory. Okay, so look at how systematic this session is going to be. We are looking at selecting the theory and then how you apply it now in the 5th week. And so theories come in various forms. Okay, it can be schematic, it can be mathematical formulas, it can be text, it can come in text. So for instance, when I was doing my MPhil, I was expecting that every theory that I find should have a drawing. Then I'll go back to my supervisor, Prof. Boateng. Prof, please, I didn't see a theory in this book. They will tell me there's a theory there, go and read. There's a theory there. And so the fact that you don't see diagrams or mathematical formulas doesn't mean that there's no theory. For example, the MOA framework doesn't have a diagram. Okay, and so it is you who, in relation to your work or contextualizing the theory to your work, will come up with a diagram if you want, or you can go without a diagram. And so we'll look at that. Like I indicated, not every theory comes in the form of diagrams. And so that particular week, that will be explained to you. And then how theories are developed. Okay. Then operationalizing a theory to collect data. And that is where we'll move beyond just the theory into the methods. So this class is in 2 folds. We have the theories and the methods. I mentioned that in the title, theories and methods in information systems. And so when we get to week 6, we'll look at operationalizing a theory to collect data. In fact, this particular part will begin before we get there. So by the time we get there, you should know what we are doing around that side. Because I mentioned that most of us here may not know the difference between interview guide and questionnaire. Okay. And so when we get there, we'll try to establish the difference and how the theories feed into the interview guide. The interview guide is the document that guides you in the collection of data. And that document comes in the form of questions that will let your respondents talk. Talking means that the person should be able to express him or herself. So usually we use the interview guide for qualitative studies, okay, or qualitative studies. And then the questionnaire will be used, usually we call that questionnaire though, will be used for quantitative. That's where the people will be taking one, agree, strongly disagree, and all those. So when we get there, we'll get to and those. Then we'll look at data collection techniques, which is captured in the Research Made Easy book. So what are the various ways that you can collect data for your work? Of course, you might have studied these things in your research methods class, but then this is specially made for you as information systems students. Most of the times, I even talk about this in my school. I'm not bringing my school here, but if you are doing a particular course, you need to be trained in that particular field. And so this course, whatever you have done in the research methods class, we like it, we admire it. But then this is framed for, particularly for this particular kind of group. Okay. And so those doing IS will walk you through how to collect data, the data collection techniques. And then we'll go into qualitative data analysis. The first time I mentioned this to some of my friends from other, I don't want to mention where they come from, but from other fields, they ask, so is there qualitative data analysis too? They hear it mostly for quantitative data analysis, but there's qualitative data analysis too. So we'll go into the coding of qualitative data, how you come up with your themes to even go about your writing. And all these would come up after you go and collect your data. And so if we don't learn how data is collected before we get here, we may be saying things in abstract. Okay. And so we'll go into how you go about analyzing your data. There was a student I was supervising, but we were supervising this semester. When the student got to chapter 4, he just quoted all the data that he went to find on the field. Meanwhile, there was no synthesis in the data. What are you trying to tell us? Okay, not just put what the people said on the paper and then print and say, I'm done. No. So what goes into analyzing the data for you to come up with your findings? So after analyzing the data, you need to then come up with your finding. And so the finding comes by way of writing your so this place needs to be chapter 4, 5, and then no, chapter 4 and 5. You have 5 chapters. So chapter 4 and 5, that's where you communicate whatever you found on the field, okay, to inform research, practice, and policy. We appreciate that for MBAs, you do more of practice and policy, but we would expect also that you would have a bit of contribution to research so that at least when you want to further your education beyond just MBA, you would have something to present there. And then group presentations. I believe that's what we'll be having the face-to-face, but Prof handle that in another way. So we'll find out shortly. Prof, please, thank you so much.
Okay. I think we have gotten a good background. Zelda, you can introduce yourself, then I can start.
Thank you very much, Prof. Good morning. So my name is Zelda Aku, and I'm also a lecturer at the University of Mines and Technology. And I had my master's in Management Information Systems with our Department of OMIS, and then currently my PhD in Information System, which I'm about to finish. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Zelda. So later on, maybe in the second session, when it comes at 1 o'clock, Zelda will also take us through maybe the actor network theory or any theory that she wants to show us and how to understand the theory and how to turn it into a questionnaire, do objectives around it and turn it into a questionnaire. Maybe she'll pick one of the works that she worked with. She used to work with Professor Ifa. So usually supervised students. So she has sample work that she can show you an MBA student what you're supposed to do in every chapter. Dr. Bernard will take one of the current students who just finished and walk you through the person's work so you can see what is expected of you. This is very important. Some of you don't know what's expected of you, so that you can see what is expected of you, especially in the introduction part and the other parts. What I'm going to do right now is to just introduce the area and then give some definitions that can help you understand the area. But thank you very much. And Harold and Redeemer, thank you very much for convening us this morning. I also want you to know that as much as possible, please, we will have an open class. So the text platform that is there, you can actually always share questions that you have, so I can be able to answer the questions that you may have. Okay, please, let me just take any questions. Dr. Bano, you can answer any 1 or 2 questions that you may have about the course before we go ahead to what we are going to do today. Yes, any questions? I don't see any hand up, but Mano, you see any hand up? I don't see any hand up. Okay. Good. If that's the case, then let's go ahead. Okay, so I have 2 screens on in front of me. I have one which is a guide that will help us understand today, just more of a text-based guide, and the other one is the slides. So I'll be using the 2 at the same time. So please I advise that don't be using your phone for lectures. It doesn't help you. At least get a tablet or get a laptop. If worst case scenario, get a tablet. The phone will not help you, especially when we are looking at content and you have to zoom in. So those of you we can get a nowadays most of the tablets that can run Zoom doesn't need an expensive tablet. You can just get a very simple tablet, even a second-hand one that you can just dedicate for the program. Not only this course, but we have seminar with you later. So just get a screen that you can really see clearly. Because whenever we are doing comparing material, it will be very difficult for you to use your phone to compare the material. So please, I beg you, try and get the right material, right equipment for what you're going to do. So I'll introduce you to the role of theories, and then I talk about the research framework, types of research framework, the building blocks. On my slides, on my notes here, I'll be using that one too. Just a simple guide that we have for you that talks about the foundation of research, the types of frameworks, and then the role of the building blocks, and goes into detail. So I'll be using both of them. Sometimes I'll zoom into one of it. Okay. So as Bano said, you'll be using this book, which is very good. It has a lot of theories in it. And then you also have the research made easy. Most of the chapter 4 is where you have the, sorry, not chapter 5. Chapter 4 is where you have the theories, if I'm right. I can't remember. but it's the theories are inside, and it explains theories and then methods. So chapter 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 will be part of what you may use. There's one at the bookshop. If you didn't get one when you are in first year, there's still one at some copies at the bookshop. Can pick it at 250. The bookshop is doing a sale on most of their books. So I think has been reduced to 220, or I don't know, I think 220. Yesterday I was there and some students were buying. They paid around 220 or something like that, 10% off. That's what I was told. So 225 or something like that. But they are doing some good sale on it. So you may want to pick one for yourself if you have not picked one yet. If you have an old edition, it doesn't really matter because of if you're not a PhD student, then the new content in it will be relevant. But any of the editions that exist, if you have a copy of it, can go ahead and use it. But the guide that we have here is free. We'll be giving the guides to you at the end of the sessions. We use the guides to help you to explain some of the concepts. So everything that we can show on slides. So sometimes we will have to show it in a text form for you to see it better. So that's why you have the 2 screens showing in here. Now, last semester, when you started your class, you were taught about research. And we told you that research is a systematic and organized way of finding answers to questions. And I remember that I didn't teach you, but most of them were using my material. So I remember that maybe they have explained to you that systematic is okay. I jump something. Let me just do this small background information for you before we continue. So just for you to understand come on, just 1 second. Good. Let me on YouTube, you'll find the class website. Some of you may know. So you go to YouTube and then you type in Richard Boateng Studios. So Richard Boateng Studios, it will come and to bring you the things I teach. So for example, research this semester, this is why we put in the content. When I met with other students during the week, we were teaching MPhil students who are also taking the same course, but in a different way. So if you go there, you can get if you go to the playlist, you can actually get access to all the content I'll be teaching you. The playlist is here. You can see that in the playlist, you have got theories and method information system, the 2025 edition. That's where everything about this class we put in. But you can check the previous years. There's a lot of research here, so you can actually check either at the PhD level or the MPhil level or whichever level. Choice and method 2022 edition is here. All the slides and the videos for the class are here. So sometimes if you miss a session, you can just go and pick the video and just watch it. Every year we change it a little bit, but the content is just the same. 2024 class is also here. Theories and methods information systems. All of them will be helpful. I change it every year in terms of the flow and the style of presentation, but the content is what is most important. So you can watch some of the other content to get better explanation because some students ask more questions. So for example, in the 2024 edition, if you look at the playlist, it has been mixed up, but you can start from the down one here where you see that you have.
It now uses AI to help you write, not just revise. Type a prompt and generate a.
Okay, good. So you can see that the same slides are here. And then you can go to the session into the methods of research. Okay. It's not for just IS students, it's a generic research book. Okay. So it's very good.
Interpret the data. And
You see, my slides are the same.
now, all these steps I mentioned is what we call the structure or method for doing research.
So please spend time and be watching some of the things ahead of time. Sometimes I will not teach certain things in a particular semester because I want students to also watch the previous content because it's rich. So I'm going to use all this to be teaching. So please don't be sitting there saying that and probably didn't talk about this. The videos are there for you to learn. And most of you can even take your time. The videos are on demand. So you can pause, you can listen, you can put your questions together. When you come to class, Prof can also teach you. Sometimes they see there are some tutorials that are there that maybe I've done by I am Prof Bano on these ones. So please spend some time using.
So I was saying that the systematic they have a step such as being asking the right question, being able to design a study to collect data to answer the question.
Okay, so that's just bad about that. I've shown that to you. Richard Watson Studios, Google it and then go there and subscribe to. Subscribe, that can give you a notification if new content is put there. Good. So that's just about that. So when we say systematic, means that every person belongs to a particular discipline. For example, most of you here, all of you are developing information system discipline. So you need to understand that the information system discipline requires certain methods and principles for you to follow, so that the study that you do can be accepted as being acceptable within the body or the researchers in that community. So if you don't understand IS theories and IS methods, you will not know what you're supposed to do as an information system person when you're doing your research. And you may be asking questions which are not information systems related. So please, the reason why we are doing this is to appreciate these nuances of our study. Let us understand the systems of operation within the information system discipline. Then every research is organized. Organized means that there's a method. So for example, for a thesis, you may go to introduction, literature review, theoretical foundation, methodology, results, discussion, and conclusion. And then you also means that you have a topic. You then design the research questions for the topic. You then look at the literature, and then after that, go to come up with a framework, collect data, analyze the data, and conclude and put it together. So that is what we call the organized part. Then finding answers. Every researcher is trying to find an answer to the question. And sometimes they may not we may not find even the answer yes, or we find the answer no, and we may even find an answer maybe, but it's still an answer. So sometimes you may not have a definite answer, but between the variables you're trying to explore the relationship with, but it's still an answer. And not finding it does not mean that it is wrong. Then every research has to be focused on focus on the questions that we are asking. So I argue that the centrality of every research is the question that we are asking, meaning that the research question is what differentiates your research from the other. So for example, maybe Harold is doing research or Nanama is doing research, and the Nama and then Equiatu is doing a similar research on maybe the Black Stars. The research questions that Equia will ask will be different from the research questions that Nanama will ask. That's what differentiates the study. It is not just the topic. For the topic, I can have the same topic. In fact, my topic in the past was cybercrime. Me, Professor Bano here or Dr. Bano here, his work is also cybercrime. But Bano was more concerned about looking at motivation, opportunity, and ability. I was just looking at the prevalence of Sakawa and what is Sakawa. So my research was just trying to understand the phenomenon in Ghana. He was trying to understand what motivates the perpetrators, what abilities do they have, and what opportunities do they try to leverage. We are all doing a study on cybercrime, but I was trying to understand the forms of cybercrime in Ghana. He wants to know the skills or the motivation of the perpetrators, the motivation of their skills level or their abilities, and then the opportunity they take advantage of. But we are doing the same topic. So if we ask a question that Reginald, what research do you want to do? And Reginald says this, and I ask Edith, and Edith says that, and it seems to be the same topic. It is not wrong. It is a question that they will ask us what they will make the work different. So let's establish that one right now. Now, what then is the research framework? The research framework outlines the relation between the variables and concepts in a manner that tends to predict the social phenomenon. So within the research framework, we may point out that I want to study, find the area of a rectangle. I know that the area of a rectangle is L times B. So I'll use the L times B to be able to find the area of a rectangle. However, if I go to the field and I mentioned that, I bought a piece of land at Kwadaso, and the Kwadaso's land is 70 by 100. How do I get the area of the 70 by 100? Class, how do I get the area of the 70 by 100? Let me just see whether you are paying attention. Abdul or Conrad, how do I get the area of the 70 by 100?
The only way we can find out is to measure it.
Oh, if I measure it, if I measure the 70 by 100 before I do it, but how do I calculate the area?
Oh, the area, we multiply the length by the breadth.
Good.
Yes,
Good. I multiply the length and the breadth. But
yes,
do you realize that why are you multiplying the length by the breadth? Why not multiply doing 3 times the length plus 2 times the breadth plus minus 2 something? Why am I not using another equation? Why are you using L times B? Why are you using L times B?
Because that's the formula for finding the area.
What do you mean by formula?
Okay. That's the accepted way of calculating the area.
Good. What do you mean by accepted way?
So that anybody who wants to measure a piece of land across, the world will have to use that.
Okay.
The length times the breadth.
Okay. Salom.
So that's uniform.
Thank you very much. I like the way uniform. Salom, let me hear from Salom. Why L times B?
Yes, so I think because that's a theoretical way of getting.
Good. That's the theoretical area of finding what?
The area of the land or
No. Are you sure? Is a theoretical area for finding area of land? Are you sure?
It's a theoretical way of finding the area
of what?
Of a rectangle.
Good, of a rectangle. But then a rectangle has assumptions. Is that not true?
Yes.
That it is straight on the left and straight on the right. And it also has another assumption that there is a 90-degree angle there between
and then it has equal sides, 2 equal sides. So breadth should be equal and the length should be equal. If not,
thank you very much.
It doesn't come up. Yes, sir.
But let me just take it. Let's take it. Let's be honest. The land that we have been buying in Ghana, are they really a rectangle? Largely, the land you are buying, is it perfectly a right angle?
No.
Selim, can go ahead.
Okay, sorry.
No, sir. Most of them are like trapezium.
Good. So, but why are we still using 70 by 100? Because it is a theoretical area. And even on the land itself, we realize that sometimes there's a tree and you have to go around the tree, or your neighbor has built something, that a structure that passes through part of your land. And so the government also gives you a demarcation that even though it's 70 by 100, this part is for government, where there will be a road, so you can't let your curb or your garden go beyond that one in front of your wall. So technically, the accessible land is not 70 by 100. It could be less, and sometimes it could even be more. Some people still add more. So what happens is that we are still using the 70 by 100 because the theoretical area, but to be able to apply it in practice and to get the accessible area that I can build on, I may have to modify the model. I hope you understand. I may have to measure from here, cut a little bit, then measure here, and then get an idea of what accessible area I have. The reason that there is a difference between the two is that one is a theoretical state, but when we move to the other side, where we are trying to apply it to collect actual data, we are then trying to say that even though it's going to frame our research, we end up getting something different. We end up getting what we call conceptual, because we are applying it to the field, which is not perfectly like a rectangle, but we still use that. So we'll be talking about these things as we go on, that the research framework frames the research you're going to carry out. It tells you the variables you should look into. And sometimes some people are just narrowly focused on those variables, or others also say, okay, these are the variables I will use to. But when I go to the field, I will try to find out whether there are any other variables that can influence the phenomenon I'm studying. Good. So that's where we start from. Now, if your research question is, does employee motivation predict job performance? Your framework will visually connect the construct of motivation as the independent variable to the job performance, which is a dependent variable. The dependent variable is usually your outcome variable. So you may say that if motivation predicts job performance, then there should be an arrow from the motivation going to the job performance, which is your dependent variable. And this is how you may show it in a schematic form. So sometimes our research frameworks are shown in a schematic form, but we don't develop research frameworks out of vacuum. We develop quite good research frameworks either from the literature or from the what we call the literature or from existing theories. And I'll be discussing that one as we go on. But first of all, let me give an example. One of the on my slide here, I have what we call the theory of planned behavior. The theory of planned behavior is part of our the theories that we know in information system, but it's a social science or social science theory, and it tends to explain motivation and behaviors. So, for example, it says that for a person to perform a behavior, it is a function of the attitude towards the intention to perform, the subjective norm or the peers the peers of social pressure that tend to subject the person to perform the behavior. And sometimes that behavior is controlled by certain impediments which are situational to the person performing the behavior. So, for example, let's say that Brian and Dillis want to go to Accra Mall, and then they call along Elsie, and then let's all go to Accra Mall. Now, when you go to Accra Mall, for example, it is possible that Brian will not eat because financially he doesn't have enough money. The money he had will just come to pay for the us going to Accra Mall. But you said that if you ask Brian that, oh, Brian, are you not going to eat it? He says, I just ate at home. He doesn't want to disclose that he doesn't have money. So you will not eat there. But let's say that Elsie and maybe the other friend they called along, let's have a nice time there. So Dillis and Elsie start eating and stuff. But the amount of food they can order is going to be a part of what their preferences are, which is their attitude. And then what maybe others have told them that if you go there, eat at Barcelos, that's going to be subjective norm. And then what is in their pocket, how much they can buy or how much disposable income they would like to spend on that day. So if you look at it very carefully, the theory of planned behavior was done in 1985. But today I'm standing here talking about Dillis, I'm talking about Brian, I'm talking about Elsie, and I'm using this to apply to them. That's how theories are. I'm using them to explain their behavioral patterns in an Accra Mall. I hope you understand me. I may not necessarily understand that the time that we were developing the theory, people knew that there will be intention, Brian will come and use it or else will come and use it. But I'm standing here, I'm using and applying them. I'm applying them in a very unique way. Why? Because at the end of the day, I can look at the attitude, I can look at the subjective norm, and I can look at the perceived behavioral control. This same model here can be used to apply why some people choose to go to certain hospitals and they choose not to go to another hospital, or even the prevalence of the choices between electronic banking products. I like using card, or I like paying online, or I like browsing online and then using the online platform. I will not use the ATM card, or I'll walk into the hall of the bank and then use the bank. All of these things can explain that because it's a behavior. Anything that has to do with behavior, using information systems and buying a product, they are all behavioral patterns at the individual level. And the theory of planned behavior can be used to explain it. So I can draw a framework from existing theory, but there are sometimes that the framework, the existing theories may not be good, insufficient, or sufficient enough to explain a phenomenon. In that scenario, I may want to read the literature, and the literature will suggest certain factors that can predict a particular pattern or behavior, and then that one I can use the factors to do that. So technically, we can have a theoretical framework that is empirical, tested, and verified position that explains phenomena or predict phenomena, and I can use that to test an existing and established to test an existing and established theory of in a new context. For example, if I'm doing a study on the selection of banking products, electronic banking products, I can pick this one and use it to do that study. Oh, good. Or I can even use something like the diffusion of innovation model, which we'll talk about, theory that we'll talk about later, to see and explain the adoption of 5G networks in rural Ghana. That could have been done. So, but a conceptual framework is when I'm testing these things and I start moving from the theoretical level, applying to my work, we usually say that is a conceptual framework. So I can adapt a theory to use that. So technically, let me just use a diagram here to explain it to you. I'll come to this. So this is what I'm trying to see. When you have got a research framework, either you pick a theory and then you come down and modify the theory to fit your work. And we call that one a modified theory to fit your work, and it become conceptual. Or you can read the literature and then use the literature to conceptualize your own framework. So let's say that somebody wants to study why there's unemployed among IT professionals today. And then he reads the literature and say that the advent of AI, one. Number two, that's the advent of new technology. Number two, job opportunities being limited or because of limited income and limited turnover or revenue of companies. So I'm talking about performance of companies. Number three, government jobs not being inadequate opportunity to pick up government jobs. When government is doing more projects, people can IS projects may come about and you can apply. So I say three variables: the orientation of government, the performance of existing companies, and the advent of AI. I'm reading this from the concept. I'm reading this from the literature. I can put this three together to say that this is what is predicting the sudden surge of decline in IS jobs in the country. And I can take these three, go and collect data on it and analyze it. And I can compare two regimes, maybe last year and then this year. I hope you understand. Last year was on a political year, this year is on a political year. So I can even use the type of year we are in as a moderator. That meaning that I can check whether it was higher last year as compared to a year like this, which is not it's not an election year. Why am I doing that? But because I realize that there's no particular theory for predicting a decline of IS jobs, but I can read the literature and get factors, and I can use the factors to do the study. So when I'm given a research work to do, I can either pick existing theory, modify it to apply to my work, and I then use it in my work. So each of them, I'll still come to a conceptual stage. The question is that, is your conceptual state more of you picking an adapted theory or you picking from the concepts in the literature? That is the thing. So most of us will pick a concept, build our conceptual framework based on existing theory or based on concepts in the literature, or both. Sometimes in the PhD level, they combine the two. Sometimes some people will not even adapt the work to fit the context they are doing it. They may just pick the variable just like that. They'll call it subjective norm, they'll call it perceived behavioral control, and then they'll call it attitude, and they'll apply it to their work. The problem about that one is that they're applying the theory just as is. The problem about that is sometimes attitude may not be measured the way you want to measure it. And what you're applying to it, you may not know how to measure attitude. So if you don't know how to measure attitude, you have to adapt a measurement for attitude. How are you going to measure perceived behavioral control? Because you can use that one. Income can be one. You can also use things like self-efficacy, the person's skill set. But why are you going to use perceived behavioral control from theory of plan behavior just as it is? No, it's not be advisable. Most often, we encourage students that adapt the theory to fit the context you are in, because by adapting it, you can even contribute knowledge. So most often than not, many students are going to adapt the theory to fit their work. It's very random that you see that a student will pick a work, will not, or a researcher will pick a work, will not adapt it and just say, I'm using this as is. I've seen those things happening in the countries in which sometimes the theory was developed. So the variables and the country is just the same, or the context is just the same. But in Africa here, when most of the theories were not developed here, so sometimes we have to explain the theory in relationship to the African context. Look at this one that you have here. Purely to propose a novel relationship, a novel set of relationship between factors identified in the literature, often resulting in a new model. So, for example, a model explaining SME resilience as a function of factors like digital maturity, government contrast, and supply chain diversification derived from synthesizing the literature, synthesizing disparate streams of the literature or literature streams. This is a conceptual framework that has been developed from the literature. But this one here, modifying the technology acceptance model. Technology acceptance model has two variables, largely, the perceived ease of use and the perceived usefulness. Somebody can then add perceived risk, so that because he's studying the financial sector, and then he has modified that one and applied it to the work. However, when it comes to diffusion of innovation, the model itself is so detailed that it explains how you should use it in reality. So sometimes the variables are the same. In that case, you see the person just picking the theory and just using that way, but that's very seldom. It's very rare. Most of the time, people will be forced to apply to the work where they're collecting data and then use it as opposed to what will fit their data work. So most of us are going to be in the A or B or the conceptual framework. Rarely will you see a PhD student or an MBA student just using the theory asset. He has to modify. So the work will be based on the theory and modified it, or is based on literature review. Now, let's go back to something I want to point out. When you are doing your long essay, the interesting thing is that most of us will ask ourselves, where do we put the theory or the conceptual framework? It will be part of your literature review. So in chapter 2 of your literature review, you put it in there. Introduction will introduce us to the area of research you can do. And then literature review here will help us to be able to review the concepts in the literature and explain them. And then try to link the concept in the literature or the theories in the literature with the area of research. So my research framework will be found in my chapter 2. Now, is there a difference between the research framework and the conceptual framework? It's the same. All of them are framing the research. Just that the research framework is a broad terminology. Within it, I will either be going conceptually or theoretically, or I can become going, even if I modify existing theory, I'm still going conceptually. So every conceptual framework is still the research framework. What is framing the research? The concepts I'm using from the literature and theory. That's all it means. So don't worry if somebody asks you that, where's your research framework? It's actually that what framework are you using to collect your data? Or somebody asks you that, where's your conceptual framework? It's the same thing as the research framework is asking. Don't be worried about that. But where is your theory? Means that what is going to underpin that research framework you have selected, or what is going to underpin that conceptual framework that you're going to you have selected. Okay, so let's take it like research framework is Toyota. Then when you are going to collect your data, you either use Toyota Camry or use Toyota Land Cruiser. So your conceptual framework will tell us the actual variables you are going to collect, but it all belongs to the word research framework. Is that okay? Class, is that okay? Hey, are you here? Is that okay?
Yes, sir. We're here, sir.
Sir.
We give marks for class
Yes, sir.
participation. So if you don't participate or you don't chat or show your thumbs up, right now we know Conrad and I think Selassie are the ones who are, and I've seen Dinah showing thumbs up. Some of you know you are in the office or you are sleeping in bed. If you call you and can't answer, it will not be good for you. Okay, let's continue. If you are doing a PhD, you would have had your own chapter called Theoretical Foundations, a research framework, in which you explain your theory and then the research framework you have developed. But you're not doing a PhD, so that doesn't apply to you. Okay, so that is the one. Okay, so as we said, your theory is what you're going to use to be able to explain your one of your research frameworks or your research framework. So what is a theory? A theory is just relationships that we are proving in empirically, that we are going to use for explaining, understanding, and predicting a social phenomenon that we have observed. So, for example, there is Kubler-Ross has what we call the 5 stages of grief. That talks about what a person goes through when he's grieving, which starts from denial. Good. Then it goes to different stages and it ends at acceptance. He developed it, and it after studying people for some time and then postulated that one. Now we also have in information systems, we have got the theory of planned behavior, the technology acceptance model. All of them have been proven in the past, and then they have been established for people to use to study acceptance or the adoption of technologies. So don't be surprised about existing theories. They have been proven and tested already. The theories can either be in a schematic form or a mathematical equation. This is a schematic one, a diagram showing the theory of planned behavior. But we also got a mathematical equation like E is equal to MC squared, or BI is equal to a function of attitude plus a function of a subjective norm. Now, if you look at it, the attitude and subjective norm, somebody say about Prof, is that not the same thing as the theory of planned behavior? Yes. The theory of reason action came before the theory of planned behavior. They were arguing that a person's reasoning behind a person's action is usually influenced by the attitude and the norms in the society, whether from the friends or the society itself or the social group the person belongs to and the person wants to listen to. You can belong to a social group, but you may not want to listen to them. So you have got subjective norm and you have got attitude. The 3 here just form the reasoning of actions. But then later on, agent came to challenge this. And that's one thing about theories. People can challenge it. Agent came to challenge it and say that sometimes I can intend to do something, but continue performing that intention into a behavior, which becomes like a habit. I can be controlled by my choices. And that one is perceived behavioral control. So even though I intend to perform a behavior, for it to become something you can observe over time and become something like my habit, it is within my controls, my behavioral controls. And it can be either situational impediments that prevent me from performing the behavior. You love to eat fried rice at Marriott's Hotel. It costs 300 Ghana cedis per plate. Every time they pay your salary, you go and eat one. But in one particular time, when they paid your salary, at the same time, you had a family emergency, your car broke down, you need to repair. It took almost half of your salary. Wisdom tells you that that's your lunch that you have been eating at a Marriott Hotel. You can't be able to afford it this month. Postpone to next month. Your perceived behavioral control has changed the pattern. So Stanton was saying that a person's ability to sustain a behavior and continue even turn the intention into a behavior, it's controlled, has some situational impediments that can either constrain or even augment. So supposing that yes, your car broke down, but that particular weekend, then it's possible that community weekend, President Mahama calls you that at a random handpick from the radio station, he wants to have lunch with you at Marriott. The Marriott food is back on the table, but it's not because of you. Something in the society made it happen, which can be a subjective norm. So if you look at the arrows for the subjective norm, come to perceived behavioral control and also go to intention, and then also go to behavior. What we are trying to point out is that they are both they influence each other. So somebody can say that attitude has a significant influence on intention to perform a behavior. Subjective norm has significant influence on intention to perform a behavior. PBC has a significant influence on intention to perform a behavior. We are looking at, I'm using hypothesis in this sense. However, we can say that we have a mediation here. Therefore, the actual performance of a behavior is mediated by the intention. That's between the perceived behavioral control and then behavior. So even though perceived behavioral control can influence behavior, it can sometimes be mediated by intention. It's not all intention that are actualized. So one of the good things about the theory of planned behavior is that one of the only theories that can differentiate intention from actualization. And that's why it is different from the BI one here. It differentiates intention from actualization. So somebody can actually do a long essay trying to look at the difference between intention and actualization of buying iPhone. So what variables move you to actualization? What PVC variables? Looking at the arrows here, it's only PVC variable can move you to actualization. But the PVC variables can also affect intention. But they are the only one that can directly move you to actualization. Or a high intention can also move you to actualization. Okay. So at least some of you say that, Prof, can I apply this one to my life? Yes. Yes. You can apply this one to those of you who are choosing somebody to marry. Think about it. There's attitude, what your friends are telling you to marry, and your perceived behavioral control. This lady, can I be a manager? And you ask yourself a question that, okay, that I have intention to perform the behavior, but my perceived behavioral control can actually constrain it. But for marriage, there's so other, the lady too has choices. So that want to come to another layer. So you have to expand the model. The model will not be enough to use. You have to look at the ladies' choices too. Somebody is laughing. Is that not true? The ladies' choices too. Good.
Very true.
So that one can also happen here. Anyway. Okay, so we mentioned that the research framework can exist as a theory or can exist as a conceptual framework. And we mentioned it like that. I showed you by the table there. The one which is based on the theory and the one which is based on just the lecture review. Most often, our work is going to be based on the conceptual because we will pick a theory and modify, or pick the literature and take variables from it. So let's now talk about conceptual framework. There are analytical schemes which we use to simplify reality or to make it easy for us to collect data, to predict the relationship between certain variables and then and then what may be out the outcome variable. But remember, conceptual frameworks are suggestive. They are not been proven yet. They are suggestive. So it could differ from study to study. They are suggestive. They are suggestive. Theories have been proven already that this is how it will work. But conceptual framework means that looking at what I mentioned earlier, look at this, modifying the technology acceptance model by adding risk. Because you are studying a financial technology product, fintech, you want to add risk. So you are not adding a risk, maybe another variable that can be added to it to be able to explore the relationship. So it's a suggestive. And then as conceptual frameworks are tested and are proven for some time, in future, the academic body can then graduate from conceptual framework to a theory. So theory have been proven under different circumstances over time. So sometimes a practitioner will just pick a theory, you might not even add anything to it and use to test something. For example, if I'm studying the fusion of, let's say, smartwatches in Ghana, I may just pick the theory of the diffusion innovation theory and just go ahead and use it. And just tell her that, okay, these are the variables. So I just mention, okay, the variables used this way in Ghana. That's all. I will not bring any major modification to make it conceptual. I just apply it. But as I'm applying it, I'm also conceptualizing something. And I have to prove that, is it true that this will go to here, this will influence this will influence that. If it's not true, I may end up pointing out in Ghana, these are only things that are true here. That's how it is. But I could also modify the theory and then add certain things to it. Okay. But just note that for MBA students, most of you just do conceptual framework. Either each of them, whichever one you use, you are still having a research framework. Okay, so a theory is not more than a statement or a fact. As I said, it's a coherent set of general propositions used as principles of explaining, understanding, and predicting. So theories will help us to explain why a phenomenon occurs. Why are people crying? Why are people grieving? Can Kubler-Ross help us to explain why people are grieving and how they are grieving? It can also help us to predict a future behavior. If you can see this pattern, then we can see that this will be the outcome. So it can also help us to predict. It can also help us to reflect backward. What actually happened here? What actually happened here? Why is it that we are seeing a large volume of students now using Android phones as compared to iPhones? And I can then pick a theory to examine that issue, to reflect on it. Now, every good theory has 4 building blocks. A theory has a construct, it has a proposition, and it has what we call the logic. And they work within certain assumptions. So let me point it out. We'll look at these things into detail. Okay. So they have constructs, they have got proposition, logic, and then boundary conversations. I'll explain this and then I'll go to application and break them down, each of them. A construct are the variables that are in it, your concepts, abstract concepts in it. So for example, length is a construct of area of a rectangle. Breadth is a construct of area of a rectangle. Now proposition, the relationship between the two. Multiply the length by the breadth. That means that for us to find the area, there has to be a relation between the two, a multiplication. It didn't say minus. But when I come to area of a triangle, it's going to be half base times height. So the relationship in that one is more about half of the base times the height. When it comes to a circle that I'm trying to find the area, it's going to be pi r squared. There's a constant called pi. I have to multiply it to the radius and square the radius. Please, do you understand me? So those are the propositions. What are the relations to the variables? What is the logic? What do we seek to achieve? We seek to find the area of a rectangle. We seek to find the area, or we seek to explain something. Theory of planned behavior seeks to explain a behavior. That's the logic. That's why we are putting these two together. But all of them have got assumptions and boundary conditions. For example, the area of the rectangle says that the rectangle, as one person said, 2 sides are equal. The length are equal to the length are equal to the other length, and the width is equal to the other width. However, it also says that the length and the width, they meet at an angle called 90 degrees. But that is the assumption. Then there are boundary conditions concerning it. This one can only find the area of a two-sided object. But if I divide them into maybe diagonally and I get a rectangle, I can't use it to find the area of a rectangle. It can only fit the area of a triangle, a rectangle, if I am using L times B. As soon as I do a diagonal division, I've got a rectangle, which is not the shape of a rectangle. I've got a triangle, which is not the shape of a rectangle. So some theories have got their boundaries, either at the level. So, for example, the 5 stages of grief by Kubler-Ross is for an individual grieving, not going through grief. It's not for a nation, because a nation may not grieve in the same way an individual will grieve. And even Kubler-Ross says that people will exhibit different types of different pathways of grieving. Somebody can be in denial, then the next morning is acceptance. Some people, because of the nature of the person they have lost, today they are in acceptance. For example, if a lady is in a relationship to a guy who is a cheater, the day the relationship gets broken, some ladies will be very happy. In fact, will be very happy that the thing has broken. Some ladies will be sad. They wish because maybe the money was coming from that place. So they are sad that the money will finish, or they like the way the guy talks, the way he smiles. So they are sad about it. And because of that, the first day they are in denial. They even don't want to believe that the guy is cheating. He's not a cheat. He's not a cheat. He's not a cheat. They'll be saying all these things and stuff and trying to go through all of this stuff. Then the roommate is saying that this lady is in denial. She is not seeing the thing clearly. You are seeing that the guy is making calls in front of whilst he is with you, and you want to still believe that the person is just has the mind on you, but the lady doesn't want to accept it. So whilst that, then the person is going to, then he goes to anger, then he gets angry, he wants to confront him. I'm going to show him or her, that lady who has to get out and leave my guy alone, all the kind of stuff. Then he gets to the place and he see the thing is true. Then he's looking, if she wants the guy, they start doing bargaining. I'll take it like that, you are take it like that, or something like that. Then she goes to depression. Then she goes to acceptance. He come back to the roommate and come and cry on the roommate, the brother or sister. It is true. It is true. It is true. It is true. How can Kwame do this for? Please, Kwame. If you are called Kwame, I'm not referring to you. How can Kwame do this to me? Oh, how Kwame didn't do well. But you see, there were so much Nigerian movies you could have watched to get this idea that Kwame is like this. But you refuse to accept what the Nigerian movies have been teaching you. Anyway, so I want to point out that the person will go to them, but there are some people that, according to Kubler-Ross, there are some people that from day one, they even have from denial straight to acceptance. They accept it. And even the lady, he even had another plan, a side plan for you. You, the guy who thinks you are cheating, he had a side plan for you. You know, I was going to help me finish my course. I would have dropped you next month. So that you are not even in acceptance. You don't even go through grief. The grief doesn't even start because you are already being rejected next month. And so you are just managing you. So you go, if you are being caught, go away. Why? Because at the end of the day, the assumptions of human heart are different. Everybody has different circumstances and different values, and the values inform how we react to certain things. The same way, if you are looking at the water that we have here, theoretically, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. But this is the water that's 2 parts of hydrogen, 1 part of oxygen. But if I take the Galamsey water in Ghana and I want to boil it, some of them may even boil even as soon as I put on fire to start boiling. Why? Because that one has 2 parts of hydrogen, maybe 7 parts of mercury, 3 parts of iodine, and then there's no oxygen in it. So the thing is even boiling faster than, or it may not even boil at all. I don't know whether any of you have seen hard water before when you get it from the well. Do you realize that sometimes they are very difficult to ladder? Anybody went to a secondary school or a high school that you had to fetch water from a well? Anybody here? All of you went to schools that they don't use a well.
Oh no, yes, sir. The water is very, very hard. The high calcium levels from the water wells makes it very, very difficult to boil.
Good. So it's very, very difficult to boil. But we said we have actually argued that the boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. So you can boil the 100. You can even go to 200. But the thing may not boil. Your bowl will rather start deforming. Why? Because at the end of the day, what is being applied to the boundary conditions and assumptions was saying that we should have known there's 2 parts of hydrogen, 1 part of oxygen. But this situation is not 2 parts of hydrogen. High calcium level, high levels of other things doesn't allow it to work that way. That is how theories also work. So we always have to understand that the theory you are using, what are the assumptions for it? Most often, the theory's assumptions are bounded by time and they are bounded by culture. They can also be bounded by the level of application. For example, if I say somebody, I cannot say that somebody is capitalism, like President Trump is capitalism. It's not capitalism. He's a capitalist. Capitalism refers to an economic system or a country. So this is a capitalist capitalism. This country has a capitalist economy, or capitalism is seen in that economy. But an individual himself cannot be a capitalism. He can be a capitalist. So we use capitalism to look at the state of the economy, and we use capitalists to look at maybe certain type of policies or certain type of behavioral choices by leaders who manage the economy as a capitalist agenda. So you can't go and call the company you are interviewing as capitalism. It doesn't make sense. Because capitalism, look at an economic system, is used at the economy level, not at the individual or firm level. But a firm can believe in capitalism. A firm can believe in capitalism. But the theory of capitalism is a theory of an economic system. So we always have to know that the theory I'm using, what level does it apply to? The theory of planned behavior is for individual. I can use it to look at managers and their decisions, employees and their decisions, patients and their decisions, students and their decisions. But I cannot use theory of planned behavior to study an organization. But I can use to study the managers in that organization and the choices they make. So let's look at it very carefully. But if I'm talking about the resource-based theory, that talks about how companies compete by resources. And the fact that if you've got valuable resources, if you've got rare resources, if you've got imperfectly emitable resources, you can't copy the resource and can't substitute the resource, you get competitive advantage. That one is a firm level theory. I can use it to study the firm. But I can't use that one to study an individual. I hope you understand me. So always look at it in terms of the boundaries be defined by the level of application. Okay, the theory. So let's go back to our guide. Now we are looking a little bit into detail. Now, every theory has a construct. Abstract concepts specify the high level of abstraction, like attitude, perceived usefulness. They exist on the abstract level. So we have to find a way of measuring them in the empirical world, and we'll talk about that later. Propositions are postulations, postulated association or relationship between two or more constructs. A positive attitude towards X will increase intention to do X. So from the theory of planned behavior, a positive, I'm using LC, a positive attitude towards going to Accra Mall will increase the intention to go to Accra Mall. So let me use one from example for me. When I was in the UK and I was doing my PhD and I finished my PhD, I got the opportunity to go and do postdoc in the US, and that is in Baton Rouge. Now going to the US, I wanted to do shopping and go and show off in the US. I didn't even know that it's better you go to the US and rather shop from there. So I went to Dorothy Perkins to go and buy clothes. I bought trousers for 34 quid. Quid is a pound. And then I bought some shirts and stuff. Nice things. I wore my clothes. I got to the US. I was received at the airport because I was going to do my postdoc. I was also going to be the associate director of the center there. So big guy, they picked me from the airport. They drove me to my hotel and everything. Then they helped me get my hall of residence, like a place to stay. But I didn't know in America, where you stay in your room, there's a washing machine there. In the UK, because I was in a student apartment, we have a washing machine, which is a communal one. You go and put in the coins and to match. When I took my Dorothy Perkins trousers, I didn't check that do not tumble. It's supposed to be hand washed, and I put it into this thing. And I added my Primark trousers, my Primark jeans and Primark. Primark is cheaper. Primark may buy trousers maybe $10 and stuff, but the Dorothy Perkins I bought 34. It was even on sale from 100 to 34. So the trousers was maybe 100 quid, and I got at 34 quid because it was on sale. And it was around a summer sale, and I bought it. So this my $100 trousers. I don't joke with it. I put it into the distance. When it came out, the Primark was okay, but the one from Dorothy Perkins, it shrank. From today, whenever I pass to the US, UK, and I see Dorothy Perkins, I go the other side. It has affected my thinking a lot because I even though it was my fault, my attitude towards high-end fashion, I want to be very careful. Because all of them come out, small things, you may not see it too. Small things. You buy a suit for $300 and they'll tell you do this and this. Only dry clean. And then you, this Ghanaian guy, you come and go and give it to you. Washing mommy. By the time you realize you have spoiled the jacket. My primary trousers survived UK, US. When I came to Nigeria to come and work in Nigeria and then South Africa for some time, it survived. Later, when I relocated to Ghana, it survived. But to Perkins, after US, it didn't travel anywhere. It didn't even travel in the US. It got there the first day, it disgraced me. So I started buying Walmart. The version of Primark in the US is Walmart. So I started buying your Walmart clothes. So please, I'm not saying don't go to the Perkins. So I'm not saying that. But I'm just telling you that I should have read the label and understood the label. Me, I didn't understand the label, and the thing has affected me. So if I get to UK, I get to Trafalgar Square in Manchester, I see Dr. Perkins, I go the other side. Primark is on the other side. I go to the other side. I walk away, cry. I don't want trouble. I don't want trouble to be. And you buy a dress and you have to worship the dress too. What is this matter? I don't want that. So that is how it is. Today, I don't have a good attitude towards Dr. Perkins stuff. Yeah, but it's the same. Sometimes I don't know what they have experienced. You buy your nice wooden dress and you go and wash it and you didn't do salt washing the first time. And after 2 washing, the thing fades. And it's because maybe you don't know that this one is a fast color. And the color, sometimes the colors can even fade into another color. Especially if you buy the pirated version of the cloth. It fade into another color. So please, this is just by the side. So sometimes a negative attitude towards for high fashion will increase the intention of not to buy high fashion. So that can happen anyway. So the variables are empirical formulations of the constructs in terms of measurable elements from the reality. So for example, a construct like job satisfaction is measured by variables such as the rate of work, a rating of work environment on the 5-point scale. So even if I have a construct, I need to have to measure them. So sometimes some people may have, for example, somebody will say, I want to look at the patterns of people's age groups. Age. To be able to measure age, I can measure it by age groups by using intervals. So whilst it's a construct, when I'm measuring it, I may have to modify it, or I may have to use other measures to measure it. So let me give an example. There's something we call forgiveness in luxury brands. That if you love a brand so much, you may forgive the brand. Now, somebody brought forgiveness as an extension of the theory of planned behavior, that people have good intention, but people also tend to forgive. Now, forgiveness is a function of brand love. So if a person has forgiveness is a behavior you want to measure, but it's about the love for this that will lead to forgiveness. So if you don't love something, forgiving is very difficult. So if you have a concept like brand love, how are you going to measure it? Sometimes it's very difficult. So you have to go into the literature and find out if somebody has used brand lab before and see how the person measured it and then use it to measure your own. So sometimes even establishing measures or variables to measure a construct, you need to understand how previous people have done it. Then the relationship between the proposition, the relationship between variable we call propositions, when we are going to measure them in a quantitative manner, we call them hypotheses. When you are going to measure them in qualitative manner, we call them propositions. So the relationship between variables, most of you doing quantitative, you may call it a hypothesis. There's a positive relation between employee self-reported job satisfaction and the organizational commitment. So that's telling you that job satisfaction is related to organizational commitment. Good. Then you have got the assumption, which shows that what can constrain the theory's application. Good. Now let's take an example. Let's get an example. So I'm going to use the UTAUT model. The UTAUT model is called the Unified Theory of Acceptance of Technology, which was developed after there was a lot of hula baloo and argument on all the other technology acceptance models, like theory of reasoning action, technology acceptance model, theory of planned behavior. After some time, a guy called Venkatash, in doing his PhD, put all the variables that can predict technology acceptance together and then studied them and then came up with this one called the Unified Theory of Acceptance and Use of Technology. I think he went to MIT or something like that. And then he pointed out that for us to be able to accept and use the technology, these are the variables we should look into. And those variables are similar to all the other variables, but he put them together. So most often, if a student wants to study any adoption of a technology, I tell the student that use the theory of acceptance and use the technology, because that is the best theory that brings in all the variables. Because to look at technological factors and look at behavioral factors. If you take only the term, the technology acceptance model, it will all look at technology factors, perceived ease of use, and perceived usefulness. If you take theory of planned behavior, it will all look at behavioral factors, attitude, subjective norm, and perceived control, behavioral control. But if you take UTAU2, it will bring all those variables together. So I'm not saying the other ones are not good, but we are pointing out this is more comprehensive in studying why people adopt and use a particular technology, not just adopt or even accept and use a technology. Okay. So I hope today we have explained that to you, that if you are doing a long essay and you're looking at acceptance, try to use or adoption, use UTAUT as much as possible, especially if you're looking at it at the individual level, whether they are in the employees of an organization or they are managers of an organization or students or they are just consumers. Okay, so there are 4 constructs here. The first one is performance expectancy, the degree to which the individual believes that using the system will help him or her to attain the job performance. We are trying to use this one in studying a particular job performance, how technology can help you in your job performance. Effort expectancy, the degree to which the degree of ease associated with the use of the system. This is the same as perceived usefulness in theory of the technology acceptance model. Social influence is the same as what? Who can tell me what social influence is the same as? From the theory of planned behavior, what is social influence the same as? Social influence, what would be the same one? Remember I told you that there is attitude, subjective norm, and then perceived behavioral control. Which of them is related to social influence from the theory of planned behavior? Which of them? Yes. Class. Which of the variables here will relate to in the technology acceptance or theory of planned behavior will relate to social influence in UTAUT? Charles Echampo, class, I want to hear from you. Which of the variables of the technology, the theory of planned behavior will relate with social influence or is equal to social influence here? Social influence is the degree to which, okay, Dinah, go ahead. It's only Dinah that is here with me. Okay.
I would say among the theories, perceived behavior control would fit.
Are you sure? The degree to which the individual believes the important others believe he or she should use the system. And you have got subjective norm, what suggests you, either the society or the people or your friends, your peers. You have got attitude, you have got perceived behavioral control. Which of these 3 will relate to social influence? Then look at it again.
Then I'll choose the subjective norm because it's you. How you.
Yes, it's either subjective norm and norms in society or your peer influence that influences you. So any person that you listen to is a social influence. Perceived behavioral control is more individualistic. Your own is like how we say in elections, your own situational impediments that can things about you that can constrain the behavior. Okay. So facilitating condition, the degree to which individual believe that the organization and technical infrastructure exists to support the system use. So this is maybe related to perceived behavioral control rather. This one maybe, but not entirely. The technical part is related, like you have access to the technical infrastructure to be able to access the technology. For example, you want to use iPhone, but where you live, there's no place for you to charge. So you cannot charge, you cannot charge the phone. So technically means that you're controlled by access to the technology that will help you to charge your phone. So facilitating conditions are what facilitate the behavior. What makes the behavior easy to do. Organization and technical infrastructure exists to support the system use. That's facilitating conditions. Social influence is the subjective norm. So performance expectancy is perceived usefulness. Effort expectancy is the same as perceived ease of use. These 2 are rather coming from the theory of the technology acceptance model. These other 2 are also coming from theories like the theory of planned behavior. So these are the 4. Now, the constructs, how the propositions. So in my study, I'll say that 1, performance expectancy will positively influence an individual's behavioral intention to use the technology. Effort expectancy will possibly influence an individual's intention to use a technology. Behavioral intention will possibly influence an individual's actual use of a behavior of a technology. So these are the ones that are there. Now, if you look at it carefully in a schematic form, let's look at the schematic diagram. I don't have one in my guide here because there's a lot on the internet. So let's look at the schematic diagram. So let's say UTAUT. I'm using good. Now this is okay. This is good. This is a diagram that shows that. So this is it. Perceived ease of use. Okay. So look, perceived use of performance expectancy. Performance expectancy will go to behavioral intention. Effort expectancy will go to behavioral intention. Social influence will go there. Facilitating condition will go there. But facilitating conditions go straight to the actual performance. It doesn't go to behavioral intention. Now, the thing that moderates, when we say something moderates, it means that it can either quieten or increase the effect of the relationship. So gender, it means that for females and males, either females may be more akin to performance than males. For example, actual literature says that when it comes to the use of technology, women look for ease of use, whilst men look for performance more. Then the age groups will also differ. Certain age groups will like to use the technology more than the other. So the Gen Z, performance expectancy may be important to them. And then for almost all the generation, performance expectancy. But for some of the older generations, they may be more concerned about effort expectancy. And it is not complex. So right now, I think most of what people have not realized that now they are designing phones that are used by the elderly. They are very simple phones. I remember in the UK, Vodafone has a Vodafone Simple. So it doesn't do browser. No, it's just a simple phone. You may call it a young phone, but it's not a young phone. It doesn't like it looks like more of like a handset, the one you used to have big buttons, so that the fingers of an elderly person can easily click on it. So they have got big buttons, and it just dials. And what's very simple text messages for just a screen for you to just do simple text messages. That's all. There are phone handsets like that are made to be able to make it easy for the elderly to use. Then experience of the person, then the voluntary. Is the technology voluntary to use it? Is it, or it's being put pressure? It's involuntary. So the social influence, the things that are influencing to me, is it voluntary influence or is not a voluntary influence? Okay. So that's the theory of the UTAUT model. Now let's go back to what we're doing. Good. So in terms of my measurement of it, I may end up measuring them as variables. Okay. So how do I operationalize this in the real world? In the real world, to be able to operationalize this one, I need to have certain things to measure what I want as effort expectancy. So I'll have measures. So I'll say that this is my construct, but the corresponding measurement for it will be, I'll find the system useful. So usefulness is one of it in my job. And number two, the system enables me to accomplish tasks more quickly. So speed or speed or efficiency. I'm going to use the word speed is one of it. So I find the system enables me to accomplish tasks more quickly. Now, if you read the actual theory and how people have used it, they sometimes have 5 questions or 7 questions to measure performance expectancy alone. So you can measure them quantitatively on a degree of a 5-point scale. That means that at 0, at 1, you have got strongly disagree, and at 5, strongly agree. Then at 3, you have got a neutral. We will do example of it soon. Then behavioral control. I intend to use this system frequently. I predict I'll be a heavy user of the system. All of this is for behavioral control. So my operationalization is that if I've got P1 means that my proposition, performance expectancy influences behavioral intention, but I'll turn it into a hypothesis that I'll test. In my testing, I'll try to find the mean survey score of the performance expectancy is significantly and possibly correlated with the mean survey score of the behavioral intention. This is how you end up measuring it. This is not the name of the hypothesis. This is more about testing it. So when you do quantitative methods last semester, they were supposed to teach you how to measure hypothesis. I think when we get to seminar, I'll tell Prof. Wusu to spend some time teaching the students how to do basic measurement of hypothesis, because that's from quantitative methods. So you teach you how to use maybe SPSS to do simple measurement of it. Now, effort expectancy influences behavioral intention. So the mean survey score, usually when you do a survey, you can find the mean of the scores for the things that are measuring this relation, for the things that are measuring effort expectancy. They can check whether it relates with that of the behavioral intention. And this is one measurement that you can do that. But this is beyond the class, beyond us now. It's more about analysis. So we'll talk about that later. Okay. Now we mentioned that all of these things have got certain assumptions, and the assumptions is important for you to guide you so that you can know how you explain yourself. For example, the effect of effort expectancy diminishes with experience. That's what one of the assumptions of it, saying that the relationship between effort expectancy and behavioral intention is stronger for users with low experience, and then so lower, like I say, parents and elderly will be looking out for more for effort expectancy and better easy to use technology, and then those for higher experience. So a person with higher experience will be looking out for what? We're looking out for more of advanced usage of the technology, not more of the entry level usage. So effort expectancy is and behavioral intention is stronger for users with low experience, like the elderly, when using technology, and weaker for those with higher experience. Ease of use is not going to be my priority for me, like a professor, if I'm trying to use an iPhone for the fifth time or this. I'm very used to the iPhone. I've been looking for higher functionality. Social influence is more important for certain groups. So, for example, this social influence and behavioral intention is stronger for women than for men. That's the gender, and stronger for younger employees than for older employees. So a younger employee would like to get people's acceptance that they are doing something than an older employee. Another employee may be more mature and may take decisions on his own. Now look at the facilitating conditions. Facilitating conditions only directly influence the use behavior when in the usage environment. For example, facilitating conditions directly influence the use behavior when the usage environment is mandatory, that you don't have the choice. So if you look at my model here, let me try to switch between this and then. Oh, good. Look at it here. Voluntary use is affecting social influence. However, facilitating conditions too can be influenced by voluntary. But in this one, the person draw it to it. I can draw to this one, meaning that if the thing is, I suppose it's compulsory, there's less voluntarity in the study. That means that if the technology doesn't have enough or adequate support, it will affect my actual usage of the behavior. It is like going to the library and or maybe going to write exams, and I tell you that the exam is going to be written online, but in the lab. So you have to come to the lab and then come and write it online. Now, whenever I say that you have no choice, but come to the lab, the computer lab, and come and write it, I have to make sure that the technology and infrastructure is superb or is top-notch, because it is going to affect the behavior of ability for students to complete the examination on time, or it is going to affect their efficiency in using the platform and writing the exams online. So if you know that there's a problem with your facilitating condition, don't go and make something compulsory. Because if you make something compulsory, then your facilitating condition should support the mandatory aspect of it. And that's what it's trying to say. Now, and you see, all the models that are there, the theory of planned behavior, they don't explain all these interrelationships between the moderating factors or people's choices, gender, age, experience, and voluntarity. They don't explain that. But the UTH tries to do that. Okay. Let's continue. As I mentioned earlier, the theories have to be classified according to their scope. Some theories are for individual level or for individual. Others are for the organizational level. Others are for society's economic systems, which are the macro levels. So you have the macro, the meso, and the micro level theories. So you always, when you apply a theory, you have to know which level are you applying the theory at. Good. Now, we are going to look at an example with the theory of the UTAT model. The UTAT model, as we said, is the dominant theory in information system for looking at acceptance. It combines the TAM, the TRA, and then the TPB. And I mentioned them already. The TAM is the technology acceptance model that perceives feelings and procedures of use. The TRA is theory of reason action, the one that is an equation. I showed that earlier. And that has got subjective norm and then attitude, leading to behavioral intention. And then TBP now adds perceived behavioral control to the TRA. The goal to explain behavioral intention to use technology and consequently actual usage behavior. So we are going to have the core construct, the direct predictors of BI, the effort expectancy, the effort expectancy, perceived performance expectancy, and then social influence. Then the actual usage will come from the facilitating conditions. The degree to which the individual believes that the organization and technical infrastructure exists to support the use of the system, the adequate training, technical support. Is it there? If it is there, then it can actually predict the actual use. Motivating variables has gone to voluntarity or voluntariness, experience, age, and then gender. Now, Dr. Bano also used another theory called the MOA theory for his PhD. And he called that one is a theory that helps us to look at consumer behavior, environmental research, and decision-making studies. The objective here is that an individual must possess certain sufficient levels of the three components simultaneously in order to perform a behavior: the motivation, opportunity, and then ability. This is often conceptualized as the BMOA framework, where if any of the components is zero, the behavior cannot happen. The being is a behavior. So the behavior is a function of the measure of motivation, opportunity, and what? And the ability. Good. The three interdependent components. I want to motivation, the internal desire and willingness to drive or engage in the behavior is what we call motivation. Then opportunity, which are the situation and environmental factors that make the behavior possible. Somebody say, is this a facilitating conditions? A little bit of it. Then ability, the skills required to perceive behavioral control. So somehow it's related, but it's different. The skills required to perform the behavior addresses the know-how. Do you know the items? Know which items are recyclable and how to sort them? Okay. So I want to recycle because I care about the environment, motivation. Is there a recycle bin close to my office? Opportunity. I know which item, knowledge, so ability. I know which items are recyclable and how to sort them. Do I know? That's the technical know-how. Need, please, you want to add anything to these three components before I go ahead?
Prof, no, please.
So are you sure? You are the
The explanation. The explanation is clear. Yeah, the explanation is clear. Without one of them, the rest will not function. In fact, will not function.
Okay. So it means that if you don't have motivation, opportunity and ability could fail.
Yeah, so that's what Prof. Longe posted, that motivation alone is not enough to get one to act. The environment, the factors within the environment that will motivate the person, which is the opportunity, must be there. And then if the person is motivated and has opportunity, then how do you do it? That's the ability.
Okay.
And so that's what they said, that's the motivation.
Okay, then that's good. So ability has to do with your skill and your knowledge.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So let's continue. Okay. So now let's link them together. So this is a study on the banking sector and mobile banking, and we want to use the UTAT and the MOA. Background: mobile banking has proliferated rapidly in urban Ghana. However, adoption rates among the small to medium enterprise owners in peri-urban areas remain low, despite the potential benefits of transaction efficiency and record keeping. Existing studies have focused primarily on urban consumers, leaving a gap in understanding for specific challenges faced by peri-urban SMEs who often lack the formal digital training and reliable infrastructure. So what's my problem statement? The factors hindering the behavioral intention and the subsequent actual use of mobile banking application among peri-urban SME owners in Accra are not well understood, limiting effective policy and marketing interventions by financial institutions. What's the purpose of my study? Okay, can somebody read the purpose for us? Can someone volunteer read the purpose for us? Yes, Victor.
The purpose of this.
Oh, sorry. Victor, go ahead.
The purpose of this study is to investigate and explain the drivers and barriers to the adoption of mobile banking services among small to medium enterprise owners in peri-urban Ghana. The purpose is a broad statement of intent, indicating what the research aims to achieve. The specific method, quantitative or qualitative, then determines the exact objectives and questions.
Thank you very much. So I'm showing that some students may go quantitative, some may go qualitative. So the choice how to read early. Otherwise, it will influence the way you write your questions. Okay, so let's continue. Let's say you're doing a quantitative one. So good. And the other person, and can I get a lady? Zelda, you let's relax for them. I want to get the students involved. Can I get the lady to read this one, the research purpose? Yes, Diana, go ahead.
Research purpose: to test and quantify the influence of established technology acceptance factor, UTAUT, and a key contextual barrier, digital literacy, on the behavioral intention and actual use of M-banking among peri-urban SMEs.
Okay, so it means that we are going to use the UTAT factors, and we are going to add one other one called a contextual barrier, called digital literacy, which we are taking from the ability part of the MOA, which I'll explain later. So the core theory I'm using is, the core theory is that what the main theory I'm using is UTAT by Vegatash 2003. If you can download that paper and then share it on the platform, it will be very good. The UTAT paper, the actual paper that formulated it. I know it's in my book, but just the original paper. Then we are going to use, we are going to test the theory. So we have got objectives here. Good. Zada, you can do the, if you are here, if you are not, I can call somebody else. You can do the research objectives for us. Okay, she's not. So let me get somebody else. Good.
Okay. Okay, Prof, I'm here.
Okay. So no.
Objective 1, to examine.
Okay, to continue. Just do as objective 1 for us.
Okay, to examine the effect of performance expectancy on behavioral intention.
Okay, good. So we are picking the first variable, that's the performance expectancy, and you are looking at the relationship between that one on behavioral intention. Then the second variable, effort expectancy on behavioral intention. Then the third one, social influence. But now we are adding a new moderating effect. He didn't say he's doing the other moderation effects. He's looking at the other moderating effect. That's the moderating effect of digital literacy on the relation between behavioral intention and then actual usage. Okay. Good. So we are studying how SME owners use M-banking. So please note that. My research questions are: to what extent do performance expectancy, effort expectancy, and social influence significantly affect SME owners and behavioral intention use in banking? The SME owners' behavioral intention to use M-banking. Do you realize from class, a relation between question 1 and objective 1, 2, 3. What's the relation between between them? Question 1 here and then objective 1, 2, and 3. What's the relationship? What's the relationship? Yes, Emmanuel Champo. What's the relationship? The relationship between objective 1 and question objective 1, 2, and 3, and then question 1. Yes. Emmanuel, go ahead.
Okay, sir. So, research. What I know generally is that the research questions influences the objectives that we want to set for the research. So the objective will sort of hook the kind of questions that we will ask. So that is what I know.
Okay then. Selam, well, another view.
Okay, so the relationship is that the question 1 answers or speak to the objective 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you very much. Question 1. Then what about question 2?
So it speaks to the 4.
Good.
Speaks to objective 4.
You realize what is happening here? I can have 4 objectives, but I've reduced them to only 2 questions. Because the variables in question 1 are already listed in objective 1, 2, and 3. Now, I could have also asked myself that the reason that we have done this is to be able to let the objectives be very clear and they can stand on their own. And then the question after the question, I can sum it up together because I know I'm looking at this is a comprehensive question. We have got 3 parts. Sometimes a student would rather have a very comprehensive objective and then break the questions into 3 parts. It can happen. But this one, we are breaking the objective into 4 parts and rather have 2 questions. Do you understand me? Okay. It happens in because question 1, 2, and 3 are all hypotheses, and even 4, they will be shown in hypothesis. So what's the conceptual framework? The conceptual framework is a model that uses the core utility predictors to predict the behavioral intention, which in turn predicts actual use. Facilitating conditions is then included as a direct predictor of the actual use. Okay. Now, all of you take a piece of pen and paper and try to draw how it will look like. The personal performance expectancy, effort expectancy, and then social influence. Do that on a piece of paper and then draw where data literacy will come. Facilitating conditions is included as a direct predictor of actual use. We introduce data literacy derived from the MOA concept as a moderator and the BI actual use link, hypothesizing low digital skills impede the translation of intention to action. Now, I have not drawn it already. So, if you can also draw your own. And then let's see, just this thing, this whole thing. Everybody draw. Please, when you finish drawing, take a picture of it and just put it in the WhatsApp platform or even this platform, whichever one you. I think the WhatsApp may be easier. Take a picture of it and put it on the WhatsApp platform, and I'll show it here. I want to show you 2 different types. Not to me directly. Put it on WhatsApp platform so others you can see, but you can send your own to me directly. So this is just a rough drawing.
Yes, I was there when they said you should join. So
please note that throughout the time, when we are teaching, me and Zada can tell you to do something with your hand and show. So always come with a piece of paper and always have it handy. I want to see you being active in class. So draw it with your hand. This is a very simple thing. Draw it with your hand. And so how do you see it to work? Draw it with your hand. There are 3 independent variables. Maud, have you finished? Have you shared it with me?
Sir, please, the question again.
You don't pay attention. The model uses, we are looking at this model, we are trying to draw it in a schematic form. The model uses the core UTAT predictors as performance expectancy, effort and social influence to predict behavioral intention, which will then also lead to actual use of the M banking by by the SME. Then they said that we also have facilitated condition, which is also included, but going straight to the actual use. Then we have the moderator being the digital electricians, which will moderate all the intention to use into action. Look at where the moderator is going. It's going to the relationship between the behavioral intention to actual use. It's sitting at that place rather. And I'm saying that try and draw it and let's see it. Okay. We are almost getting to the top of the hour. So we so I received that from um Salon. See what that is from. Hey, some of you this one's from parents. Okay. Hey, Sandra. Rob. It's interesting. For senior. And have you finished your own?
Prof, just a moment. I'll send it shortly.
Hey, most of you don't understand this thing. Okay. Dinah. So the model uses you performance, effort, expectancy, and influence go to behavioral intention. And then from behavioral intention, an arrow goes to actual use. Okay, facilitating condition is included, going straight to actual use. Then we have data literacy, which sits between the behavioral intention and the actual use. So some of you, what I've done, some of the variables are not even inside. Okay. Are we good? Okay. Ni, your own tree, there's a problem. And is this ni, Bano? Ni? Is that yours?
No, Prof, I'm here to send.
Okay, so
This
no.
will be three there.
Okay, so let me show. What are some people drawing? People drawing is very funny. Adrian and you let me stop. The things I'm seeing are too wild. Okay, let me open my folder. Okay. So I'll quickly show you. Let's go straight to the drawings that most of you have done. So this is from Dinah. Dinah says effort expectancy, effort performance, effort and social go to behavior. Then digital literacy go to behavior, and then actual usage too. Okay. Let me see the next person. Draw another person's own. This one I don't even know where it is. Performance expectancy going to behavior, effort going to behavior, Sandra, social effort going to behavior. Then facilitating conditions will go to actual use, correct. Digital literacy, she's confused where to put it. Okay. Okay. She has come very close. Okay.
Prof, please, I'll send mine.
Let me check. Okay. So you have sent yours. Okay, man. Okay, yeah. You have done it it's right, but you have done the way you have done it is very funny. You have made it well. Okay. So let me look at it from. Okay, so we are looking at another person's own. I'll look at Salom. Salom is the first person to draw. Salom says that this is Salom. Perceived effort expectancy, performance expectancy goes to DI rather, digital literacy. Effort expectancy goes to DI, digital literacy, and then social influence goes to DI, digital literacy. This is not right.
Prof, please, I've sent something to you.
Okay, I'm coming. Zrob, somebody calls Zrob. He says that performance, you use what? A rectangle. This is wrong. Hey, so all of you, if you go to the exam hall, is that what you do? There's a person called Ni, not Ni, but no, Ni, not Ni. Okay, Ni says that effort to be social influence to be behavioral intention, digital literacy to be behavioral, rather. So where's performance expectancy? That one is not there. Facilitating conditions to actual usage, correct, but it's not complete. It's not complete. So okay. So Ni and Zelda, you have done the writing because you are the ones who understand this thing. Okay. So let me show Ni's own, and I'll show you Zelda's own. Then we can continue. So this is Ni, Dr. Banner's own. He drew it in a very funny way, but it's also the same. So perceived usefulness, effort explanatory, and social all going to BI. It's okay, but it's better you draw the Prof, it's better you draw the arrows directly. Oh, I can't edit it. Okay, good. So you have drawn the arrow here, and then draw. Let me use arrow. Oh, so this one will come here. Then this one will come here. And then You have done the right thing, but just that. And then this one. So we said UTH, PS, performance expectancy, effort expectancy, and social influence all go to behavioral intention. Behavioral intention go to actual usage of by the SME of using mobile banking. And we say data literacy will mediate the relationship, will moderate the relationship between the behavioral intention and then the actual usage. So if you're more digitally literate, you may end up seeing them do more with a mobile banking. If he's less digital literate or digital literate, he may do less. And we also say that for these things to happen, then there should be conditions, that infrastructure should be there. So facility condition will go to the facilitating conditions will go from this one to, as he has done, to AU. This is the best way to do, one of the best ways to look at it. So class, think about it. This is one of the best ways to look at it. This is the best way to look at it. Okay. I'll save this one. Okay, so now let's look at the other one. We also had Zelda also giving us a diagram. And the similar thing. So Zelda you said the similar thing, so that you have got the P going to, but Zelda, I didn't show you arrows. P going to BI, E going to BI, SI going to BI. Then you see the way I've drawn it, you should have let the DL go up so that you don't have to pass the arrow through the relationship here, because it also has a different meaning. So you put the DL up and the arrow doesn't go through it. FC goes straight to actual usage. So this is how the model would have been. It's fairly okay. Good. So in this scenario, our performance expectancy is related to the BI. So that's what you see with Zelda's own that she put here. Let me see if I can find it. Good. So you see Zelda's own here. Then if you look at the next one, electronic effort expectancy goes to BI, the same thing here. SI, that's social influence, positively related to BI. You see the same thing here. FC is related to actual usage. That is what she has drawn straight going here. She has drawn it here. You can see it over there. Let me use the annotation. This is good. She has drawn it here. So you see from here to here. Then the thing goes on to say that BI is positively related to actual usage. BI is going to actual usage code. And then the positive relationship between BI and actual usage is moderated by data literacy. So BI and actual is moderated by this. I could have put it at the top here by the same thing. And the arrow will come there. This is how you have turned the model straight to for your conceptual model. So you see that you have left those of you who don't know what we have done. Compare what Zelda and Nibano has done. Let me open Zelda's own again. Compare, or the final one we accepted, NB, this one. Look at this, this one like this. Good. Compare this one with the actual, look at this. Let me open the actual, this is the actual one. This is the original. So we drop, because that's why I say conceptual, we drop all of this. We didn't do this. And we rather put in digital literacy, which represents experience or something like that. And then we do our own diagram. So this is at the theoretical state. Now we move into conceptual where we modify. So you modify to fit your work. You choose what will work for your work. And that's what you see us doing over here. Good. So this is a modified one. Whether this one or Zelda's own, it's still the modified one. So this is the modified one that we have here. So DL will go into between this one, then this one will come here. And this is a conceptual model base which has been adapted from the UTAT. So it's not the UTAT influence, it is modified version or adapted. This is what I was trying to explain to you earlier. Okay, now let's continue. This is a quantitative study. What if it's a qualitative study? Okay, so let's quickly do. To explore and understand the specific contextual factors and experiences and perceptions, such as social, financial, and operational, that shape the low adoption rates of M-banking from perspective of peri-urban SMEs. They are building from MOA framework, used as a synthesizing concept or analytic guide, not as a testable model. We are not testing the model. We are using to guide our explanation. So we are doing theory generation. We are not doing theory testing. The other one, we tested part of the theory. But this one, we are doing theory generation or exploring the theory in a different context. To explore the daily operational motivations driving SME owners' financial management choices. What drives their choices? To identify the specific opportunity and constraints related to infrastructure and policy affecting M-banking use. To detail the current state of digital ability and training gaps among SME owners and how it will affect their use of M-banking. So the questions we have: how do peri-urban SME owners perceive the practical benefits and risk associated with using M-banking for business? So that's the motivation, the benefits and risk. You see how it has broken down. Motivation is now look at the positive and negative, that one. So something can demotivate you. Now, number two, what infrastructure barriers, reliability, financial access point constitute the lack of opportunity from M-banking use? So that will capture question 2 and question 3. Question 2 and then the question 3 will be why is digital literacy currently a critical challenge? And what are specific training needs required for M-banking adoption? So we now have to come to a framework, which this does not contain. He said it that there's no schematic map for MOA, but we don't have it because it doesn't contain directional arrows or hypotheses, but it helps us to organize our findings. The MOA doesn't do that. The framework shows M-banking adoption as a central outcome with 3 thematic categories of motivation, opportunity, and ability. These categories guide the interview observation protocol, and final findings will fill in the sub-factors such as under motivation, trust, perceived risk, and usefulness that emerge from the data. The MOA framework serves as a structure for analyzing the rich data. Okay. Now, what I will say is that you are the expert. If you're supposed to draw this one to guide us, not as a hypothesis part, how will we draw it? You can tell me and I'll draw it here. What am I supposed to do? Okay. Zelda, if you know it, you can share with us. Okay. Both of you are not here. Let me do it myself. Okay. So that's good. If I was supposed to draw this is how I'll do it. Or Salom or Dinah, do you have an idea?
No, sir.
So please, we are still thinking about it. So maybe you can go ahead.
Funny, I left you alone. Okay, so let's go back to the question. What are the variables? What motivation, and then we have got what opportunity, and we have got ability. Okay, so this is what I'm going to see. So let's draw motivation. That's the motivation one. Then you have got opportunity, and I've got ability. So I'll draw this one. And I've got an outcome variable called my outcome will be more about how it is used for this. So I'll draw one to here, and I'll draw another one to here. And I'll put in my text. So this is going to be motivation. Motivation. And inside motivation, I'll look into benefits, and I'll look at also risk. So these are the two things I'll look at in my motivation. Then here will be, sorry, this other variable will be, what's the name of the variable? Opportunity. Then here will be ability. But and ability, I'll look at digital literacy. And then I also mentioned that I also look at trainings, availability of trainings, training program. Okay. Then let me go back. I've forgotten what I wrote for opportunity. So let me scroll. Opportunity was about what? Opportunities and constraints related to infrastructure and policy affecting. So infrastructure. So I'm looking at opportunity and constraints. So let me do this one. Opportunity. So I can look at, I said infrastructure, and I'll look at policy. So what policy measures are supporting this? What kind of, so then I can then look at, but I'm looking at it in terms of not just the opportunity here, but the opportunity I'm looking here, I've included, sorry, so that I could edit this one. Including constraints. Okay. So I'll put it here, including constraints. Good. So this is my study. And then here will be, remember what we are trying to do is, okay, M-banking adoption as a central outcome. So M-banking adoption by SMEs will be here. M-banking adoption by SMEs. Please, do you understand it now? The arrows should touch the box, so forget it. This one, there are no H1, H2. I'm not doing hypothesis, but this is what I'm going to study. So under motivation, I'll look at benefits and risks. And opportunity, I'll look at policy and infrastructure. And our digital programs, I'll look at and ability, I'll look at digital programs and ability. Please, is that okay? Diana, is that okay?
Yes,
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. So let me capture. I want to be sure that everybody also, let me capture this one. Capture everything here. Okay. Good. Now let us quickly turn this one to okay. Well, when we come back, or let me just do it for the qualitative. Oh, sorry. Let me just get back on that one. Good. I have it here. I want to open my research framework guide. Yes, Maud. Good. We can quickly just wrap it up here.
Say.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
I'm listening. I'm listening.
Sir, please, I have a concern.
Okay.
Sir, please, we want to take advantage of the lecture that did not come on and then have some personal time for ourselves because our class will end at 8:40 today. So if we come back, we'll be overwhelmed with the information.
Unfortunately for you, the university says that for group 2 like this, group 1, I have to still meet you at that time because now they are sending people to come and check whether they actually met, we actually met with you. That's what's making it difficult. So to be able to give you a personal time, I'll meet you just for 1 hour or 30 minutes just to show that it happened and record it. I beg you. Because what you don't realize
Yes,
that the university is
thank
joining and they are checking students who are also attending. So I don't want group 1 members to lose in case there's a penalization that an issue does. I have to have a record that I have to record it to show that something took place for group 1, 2. So please forgive me on that one. Is that okay? So I promise you, I'll leave you.
Sir.
So we'll do, it starts at 1:30. So what I'll do is I'll stop now. We'll come at 1:30. Is it 1:15 rather? We're at 1:15, 2 o'clock we stop. I hope you understand me. Then you can have some personal time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Is that fair?
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
sir. So when we come back, what we are going to when we come back, what we are going to use are these things that we have, we are going to turn them into a questionnaire to show how we can collect data. Because remember, it's theories and methods. So I've taught you the theory. How do you then turn it into a questionnaire? And I'll show you how to turn it into a questionnaire. Very simple command. Now you can just do that. So now you can then be able to have an idea of, oh, okay, I work, I can develop my objectives, I can develop my research questions, and I can turn it into a questionnaire. That's what we want to try and do. Thank you very, very much. Is that okay?
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So we'll meet you at
sir.
one. Okay, let's make it. You said it's
1:15.
Yeah, 1:15. We can either come at 1:30 and finish at 2:15, or we come at 1:15 and finish at 2 o'clock. Which one do you want?
Please, 1:30.
1:30. Then we'll finish
1:30.
We'll finish at 2:15. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Let your 1:30 1:30.
Yes, sir.
Okay then.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Group 1 members, make sure you come your number. I'll still be teaching. So those of you who say you won't come, you are the one losing. Okay then. Thank you very much. Yes, there was a question. Let's ask a question, then we